Let me turn off the music and welcome to our June pack event. Hi guys, I'm Jocelyn Yadiad and I'm one of the project managers here at the dog aging project. But Susan's one of ours at the dog park and she's with us today. Before we get into today's event, we have a few announcements. And really quick shout out to our external communications team. With us behind the scenes is Sally. She's helped producing today's event to make sure the streaming is going really well. And then, like I just said, Susan's here too. She's one of our managers of the dog park. And then she will be answering all the questions in the YouTube chat, as well as questions at the dog park. And anything we don't answer here on the YouTube Live, we will answer at the dog park. Now, at every pack event, we also do a mini prize giveaway where we give some awesome dad swag. And to enter in the giveaway, we're changing it up a little. This time around, if you got our June newsletter, you saw we gave out a little poll. We want to know your input about our pack events. So fill out that poll, and you'll be entered in a little prize giveaway. And we'll have the link in the chat box. We have the link in the dog park. And then, of course, if you got our June newsletter, we have the link there as well. Now, if you're not already a pack member, well, it's never too late. We're always welcoming new participants to our study, and you can enroll your dog today. And of course, PAC members, feel free to spread the word by sharing resources from our Dog Aging Project resources page. And quick update about our portal. So PAC members, if you have any surveys, if you're doing your annual follow-up survey, our online Dog Aging Project portal will be down starting 5 p.m. Thursday and all day Friday, but we'll be back up on Saturday. So if you're also trying to enroll, maybe wait till Sunday. And then let me share my screen again so I can talk about some new updates that we have on our website. So like I was saying, you can spread the word by going to our website. Under media, you can go to project resources. Here's where you can spread the word by sharing any of this information on here. We have a lot of flyers, graphics you can share, so please do. Then quick reminder, under project background, we have our DAT Pack annual task calendar, which, there we go. Here's the handout. It's a great handout for you to remember what activities are coming up. Coming in August, we have our treat, hide, and seek activity. So look forward to that. And of course, if you can't do any of our activities, it's always optional, so do not worry. Let me go back to the resource page. And then the very bottom, this is a new feature we're really excited to announce. We now have a DAP Proud Supporter logo where you can go download. Now, this is really cool. You can click on it. First, you're going to get our user guidelines and information. If you agree to all our guidelines, then you can click down here, this little blue button, link, and you can then save this awesome DAP supporter, improve your supporter. So you can download this picture and you can put it on your blog and website to show that you are a DAP Proud supporter. So it's a new feature. Go and download it. We know you are a DAP supporter. And I think that's the last update on this page. But yeah, we have a lot of resources on this page, so go check it out when you have the time. Let me stop sharing. With that, today, the last reminder I'm going to give is that today's event is live. So again, make sure to put any of your questions in the YouTube chat box, and anything we don't answer, that's okay. We'll answer at the dog park. And also, if you're not able to, you miss any part of this movie, let's say you came in right now and you missed a little bit, that's okay. This video will be posted on our YouTube event you can watch at any time. Now, let's get into the main part of this event, which is the pack event. Joining me today is Dr. Kate Illing. She's one of our vet fellows here at Texas A&M University, and she'll be providing an overview of our study and how we learn from community science. So Kate, welcome and take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for that introduction, Jocelyn. As Jocelyn said, I'm one of the research fellows working with the Dog Aging Project. I'm at our site down here in Texas. It's so nice to get to talk to you all today. I'm going to be talking today about a little bit about the research side of the Dog Aging Project and what we're doing with the information that we're collecting and why we're doing it. So let's just get right into it. So for today, I'm going to talk to you guys about why we study aging in dogs, what the rationale is for our research. I'm going to talk about how we use the Dog Aging Project to try to meet those goals. I'm going to give you guys a couple of examples on some of the ongoing research and some of the recent papers that we've published. and chat a little bit about the dog aging project's plans for the future from a research perspective. All right, so first of all, why is studying aging so important? Well, in 2018, for the first time in history, people aged 65 or above outnumbered children under 5 years of age globally. And furthermore, by 2050, 1 in 6 people in the world will be over age 65, which is up from 1 in 11 in 2019. The number of people aged 80 years or older is projected to triple from 143 million in 2019 to 426 million in 2050. So aging research is more important now than ever before. Aging obviously comes with a huge impact on the development of disease in people as well as in other animals. The graphs that you see right here represent the percent increase in risk for a disease when certain factors are present, like tobacco use, diet, alcohol, and certain genes. So let's look at what happens to the percent increase in risk when we add the effect of 20 years of aging to these graphs. Um, so those bars I still talked about, those other risk factors are still there, but the effect of 20 years of aging far outstrips them all. So 20 years of aging has more of an effect on your risk factor for age-related disease than any one of these lifestyle risk factors. Another reason to study aging is that we do know that different people age differently. Two people who have the same chronological age can actually have entirely different functional capacities. To think about this, I like to compare my paternal grandmother, who at nearly 80 years of age was still jogging and swimming, to my maternal grandmother, who at the same age needed assistance to walk and didn't have quite the same functional capacity. So, as well as a chronological age, you could consider that we all have a biological age. And those aging outcomes are clearly different between different individuals. And in addition to those differences in outcomes, we know that the exposure to factors that influence aging is not the same between all people. Things like geographic diversity, genetic diversity, your socioeconomic status, where you live, what your lifestyle is like. All of those things are different between people, and all of those things affect age and development of chronic disease. And so this is where we come from geroscience. So geroscience is the study of aging, and it's based on several different principles. The first principle is that the drivers of different aging outcomes can be understood. A second principle is that the drivers of different aging outcomes can be modified. And the third principle is that slowing biologic aging would slow the onset and the progression of age-related disease. Improvements in healthy aging would benefit society in that people can make longer contributions. It would benefit individuals who get to have more enjoyment out of their lives. It would benefit the economy in terms of healthcare spending. However, prolongation of life is not always synonymous with prolongation of good health. And this is where we come to the concept of health span versus lifespan. Lifespan is a term that we're all familiar with, simply the period of time for which a person or another individual is alive. However, recently, scientists have come to recognize that it's not just living longer that matters, but preserving the full spectrum of health and activities that we enjoy for as long as possible as we age. So this is what's given rise to the term health span, which refers to the period of time for which a person is active, healthy, and feeling good. Longer health span does not have to be achieved by living longer. Instead, we can often target improved quality of life for more of the number of years available. Like in this bottom diagram here. We can do this by slowing the onset of age-related decline in physical activity, cognitive ability, and ability to carry out our activities of daily living, as well as by preventing or delaying the development of chronic disease. Studying aging comes with some serious challenges. Earlier, we talked talked about how and why different people age differently. However, we're never going to be able to replicate that range of outcomes and exposures in laboratory models who are living in a controlled environment. And if we try to think about studying aging in people directly, that also can be very difficult. If you want to follow a person as they age, we can consider that a human lifespan is around 80 years. But the career of a single researcher who spends their entire life studying aging is only going to be about 35 years. So studying aging in people can be very difficult just because of the time scale involved. And if we think about models for aging, there's honestly very few species out there that experience the same diversity of exposures as people and the same individualized assessment of aging outcomes. So this is where we come to dogs. So we know that dogs have a shorter lifespan than humans, which makes doing a study over a single dog's lifespan achievable within a single researcher's career. Um, Dogs have pretty diverse genetic variation, which we know affects aging and age-related disease. You can almost consider each breed as a sort of extended family. The spectrum of diseases that dogs experience as they age is actually very similar to those found in humans. Many of you might be aware that spontaneous diseases in dogs have already been used to study diagnostics, treatments, and outcomes of human diseases, like infections, cancer, or blood transfusions and organ transplants. Dogs have a long history of being used as a model for human disease. Dogs experience a wide range of real world environments that are shared with humans. Dogs literally eat our food, they drink our water, and they sleep in our beds. When we exercise, they exercise. When we travel, they travel. So we know that dogs are exposed to a lot of the same risk factors as people. Dogs have a highly sophisticated healthcare system. So we're able to track their health quite well. And finally, dog owners tend to have a very strong commitment to individualized care. And luckily, as we've found out, a lot of our owners will eagerly invest their time as community scientists and are able to provide a lot of information about their dogs in absolutely remarkable detail. So now we know why we want to study aging in dogs. Next we're going to talk about how we're doing it. So the Dog Aging Project has several central questions that we want to answer. The first question is going to be about what is normal aging in dogs and how can we measure it? How can defining normal aging help us identify that those dogs that are aging well and those who are at a higher risk of developing age-related illnesses? We also want to study why individual dogs age differently, how their genes vary and the way that their bodies express them, and how variations in the external environment and the lifestyle affect aging. And then finally, as previously mentioned, we want to explore what we can do about it, documenting any lifestyle patterns that can promote health span, and even exploring medical interventions like the Dog Aging Project, Triad project that a lot of you will be familiar with. So our approach to answering those questions is to study real dogs living in their family homes. And our best source of information about those pet dogs is you guys, our pack members, the owners themselves. Um, so um, So in addition to our yearly health and life experience survey that all of our DAP members participate in, we also have all of our optional additional activities to test cognitive function, and for some of our members, even collecting biological samples that we can analyze. Our study is strongest if we have many dogs of different ages, breeds, health span, health status, lifestyles, and environments as possible in order to provide a diverse sample that's representative of American dogs. We're also very committed to sharing our data with the public. After all identifying information has been removed, researchers around the world can access our data and survey instruments, which are hosted on a cloud-based computing platform. We also believe in improving the accessibility of scientific information through sharing our findings as much as possible through blog posts and newsletters, as well as through our peer-reviewed scientific journal articles, which are always open access and free to use. Um, so as I briefly alluded to before, as well as our central DAP pack, which contains dogs of all ages and breeds, we have several smaller subcohorts as well that have a slightly more specific criteria. We have the foundation cohort who complete a cheek swab to send for genome sequencing. We then have their genomic data in combination with their health and behavioral data, which gives us the opportunities to perform genome-wide association studies. Dogs in the precision cohort also complete a cheek swab, but we also collect blood, urine, fecal, and hair samples every year, which, among other things, we're hoping to analyze for metabolomic predictors of disease and longevity. Our newest cohort is the brain health study, which is going to be focused on studying the development of canine cognitive dysfunction, as well as its connection with Alzheimer's disease in people. And then lastly, there's the triad cohort. Triad is our only interventional study, and it's been designed as a placebo-controlled clinical trial to investigate the effects of rapamycin, a medication, on health span and lifespan in dogs. So that's the big picture for how the DAP works. So I talked about this a little bit earlier, but our DAP pack is strongest if it's representative of all American dogs in terms of their breed, where they live in the US, their age, as well as their health status. If we want to know how dogs in the US are doing, we want to have a representative sample. And our study is stronger the more dogs we have year after year. So the Dog Aging Project is currently only a few years into data collection, and our best is definitely yet to come. But while we continue to enroll dogs, develop data, and develop our methods, we can still explore trends and relationships in a cross-sectional population of our participating dogs. And I'm going to show you guys a few examples of this. So as our first example, one of our undergraduate summer students last year decided to look at all of the toxin ingestions that have been reported by our participating owners. And the number one most common was, of course, chocolate. About 5% of dogs who are currently in the Dog Aging Project pack have had the chance to enjoy a chocolatey treat at some point in their life. The number two and number three most common toxins are grapes and human or veterinary medications. Interestingly, we found that toxin ingestion are most common in the summer and in the winter around the holidays. Maybe this is the period of time where treats are most likely to be out and around or people are busier. We also found that pugs, dachshunds, and beagles are almost twice as likely to have a history of having ingested a toxin in the past. And if you've owned one of these creatures, you probably have personal experience with their tendency to get into things. Moving on to another one of our studies, one of our earliest exploratory studies that we did after collecting data for 1 year was just looking at how many dogs in the Dog Aging Project had experienced tumors in their lifetime. What we found was that about 30 owners in every 1,000 participating in our study reported that their dog had a malignant tumor, and about half as many reported that they had a benign tumor. The most common location was the skin of the legs, followed by under the skin and the skin of the body or head. After collecting data year after year on over 17,000 of our dogs, members of our research team recently did a follow-up analysis to see how many dogs are diagnosed with a new cancer or a new tumor each year. and if this number is affected by whether or not the dogs have had tumors in the past. So we found that of those 17,000 dogs, over 500 were diagnosed with cancer between the time that they filled out their first survey and their 1 year follow-up survey, corresponding to about 3% of dogs. However, when you then isolate the dogs, um, that have had been diagnosed with cancer in the past, 13% of those dogs developed an additional cancer or tumor the following year, which might suggest that dogs with a previous history of cancer are more likely to develop additional tumors than dogs who have never had cancer in the past. However, we still need to analyze how much of this effect is age versus individual susceptibility to cancer. Another disease that's of major interest to our group is canine cognitive dysfunction. So if you're not familiar with this disease, canine cognitive dysfunction syndrome refers to a pattern of mental deterioration that's associated with aging in dogs. It's actually very similar to Alzheimer's disease and other types of dementia in humans. The symptoms of canine cognitive dysfunction include disorientation, difficulty recognizing familiar people and environments, change in their daily schedules and their sleep-wake cycle, as well as house soiling. And you can see how with these symptoms, canine cognitive dysfunction can have a serious impact on dogs in their later years of their life. So with the knowledge that an active lifestyle is known to be protective against Alzheimer's disease in people, Emily Bray and others looked at the relationship between physical activity and cognitive health in dogs, both of which are covered in the Health and Life Experience Survey. So over 11,000 senior and geriatric dogs completed the relevant sections of the survey. And we found that dogs who are more physically active are less likely to display those markers of cognitive function that I talked about. While we can't demonstrate cause and effect yet, this does give us hope that an active lifestyle might be similarly protective against dementia in dogs like it is in people. And it's part of the motivation for our brain health study cohort. In addition to physical activity, we looked at several other factors as well. And although we, again, can't demonstrate cause and effect without more research, we found that the use of neuroprotective supplements and a history of training were also negatively associated with cognitive dysfunction. This might mean that mental activity and supplement use can have a protective effect against dementia as well. One last interesting finding that we actually haven't yet published is that the development of canine cognitive dysfunction correlates with age. Dogs are more likely as they get older, but that relationship between the development of dementia and age is independent of body weight. So although we've just demonstrated in previous studies that larger dogs appear to age faster, that doesn't matter for the development of canine cognitive dysfunction in our data. So that means that all else being equal, a 10-year-old Labrador, even though he might be biologically older, might be at a similar risk of developing canine cognitive dysfunction compared to a 10-year-old Yorkie, even though the Yorkie is at an earlier point in their expected total lifespan. And then before we end, I'm going to take the next couple of slides to talk about the Dog Aging Project's goals for the upcoming years. So in terms of things that we want to study in the future, we're going to be exploring how specific chronic diseases like diabetes or hypothyroidism affect aging in dogs. We're going to continue to analyze our genomic data and try to find out what genes determine how well dogs age. We want to identify the biological markers that can be measured in blood or feces or other biological samples that are markers of aging in dogs, and we want to find out how those can be used to predict aging outcomes. We're going to continue to identify lifestyle factors, those things we can affect, and how they're associated with healthy aging. We also want to investigate environmental influences on aging outcomes. such as pollution in the area in which dogs are living. Finally, our triad clinical trial is still ongoing, and we're hoping to be able to determine the effect of that drug on healthy aging. So the dog aging project's impact, we're trying to develop a comprehensive description of natural aging in a socially important species. And we're doing that description from the population level with our surveys of dogs across the US down to the molecular level. Um, our um, our molecular biologists who are studying chemical markers associated with aging and genes associated with aging. We're hoping to continue to discover the drivers of healthy aging and the chemical markers associated. And we're very proud of the fact that we are performing the first large-scale lifespan intervention trial that's been performed outside of a laboratory. Um, so to summarize what we talked about today, studying canine aging, which all of you are participating in, has real potential to improve the lives of both humans and dogs. The Dog Aging Project has been, sorry, I keep getting distracted by the chat, pardon me. The Dog Aging Project strength, it comes from studying a diverse group of dogs living across the US, studying both those dogs who are sick and those who are healthy, and following as many dogs as possible for as long as possible, so that we can watch how those aging changes develop in real time. This slide here is just to acknowledge our sponsors and our major source of funding, which is the National Institute on Aging. But most of all, I'd like to thank all of our Dog Aging Project PAC members, all of you guys who are really what makes this study both possible and worthwhile. So I'd like to thank all of you present and those not present for all that you do to make this research possible. And here is where we have some time to answer some questions.
All right, we got 3 questions. Let me look at the chat box. So we got one that says, to your knowledge, Kate, does cancer risk in dogs increase with age as it does with humans?
Yes. uh, we know that the development of cancer, it's sort of um, hmm, well, cancer develops when there is sort of an error in the division of your cells, and all of the safeguards that your body normally has to prevent those cells, those abnormal cells from developing, um, get are essentially bypassed, and so a cancer grows. And the risk of that happening increases as you're older, as those sort of protective mechanisms degrade, and as you're exposed to more cellular damage that accumulates, so you have more of those cells dividing. So risk does increase. Cancer risk does increase with age in dogs like it does in humans. It's also going to be affected by genetics, also plays a big role.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that
And,
one.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
And also saying, no, that was a good one. Great answer. Thank you. I think we're getting a few more in there, but another one is exposure to increasing environmental toxins affecting dogs? And they have a parentheses, increasing frequency, younger age at disease onset as like in humans.
That's also something that we want to study in the future. It's a little bit complicated though, because if we try to talk about trends in development of disease in dogs from year to year, the problem is that before things like the Dog Aging Project, we don't really have a good surveillance mechanism. So it's hard to say whether dogs now are developing more disease than they did 20 years ago. But something that we can study is, and that we're hoping to study with the Dog Aging Project, is going to be our dogs who live in areas where there's a higher level of pollution in the air, or we have some we have some plans to have people testing their water in their areas, and we want to know if dogs who have that exposure are then maybe more likely to develop certain diseases in the future. And if the dog aging project runs for long enough, then maybe we will eventually be able to collect data on whether or not disease prevalence is actually increasing over time or not in dogs.
Oh, I have my mic on mute. Thank you. And then I don't know if it's easier if you read the chat or I read it, but
Oh,
there's also, we're getting quite a few coming in. So thank you, everybody. We do have another one, and it says, because of the onset of cognitive dysfunction seems to depend on age, no matter the average lifespan of the breed, does this indicate a closer connection with environmental factors rather than breed, to your knowledge? I feel like that's a little, yeah. Think
yeah,
about
it's yeah, I have to tease that apart a little in my brain, but um it's something that we'd have to control for because breed would be a confounding factor because dogs of certain breeds are will have shorter lifespans. So I don't think that's something that we can say either way at this point. Um, because I guess for to go into that a little bit further as an example, a dog like a Yorkie or a Chihuahua is more likely to live longer. And we don't know, and so they're more likely to develop canine cognitive dysfunction. We don't know if it's because they live longer or it's because something in the breed. Breed is sort of a confounding factor in there that affects multiple factors. And differences in incidence by sex, I don't recall. I apologize.
very good.
Uh,
And then
another,
we'll take this one as the last question because
okay.
I feel like we're getting quite a bit, which are awesome. But whatever we don't answer today, we will answer at the dog park. The last one is, wait, did we answer that one? When
Uh,
discussing cognitive dysfunction,
Yeah. How
they,
about we follow up on both of those questions in the
gotcha.
dog park because I can ask some of the relevant researchers and then we can get you a better answer.
That's perfect. Well, thank you so much, Kate, for today. You did awesome. It was very informative, and thank you for everyone joining us today. But Kate, thank you, thank you. You did amazing. And of course, we'll be following up with these at the dog park. So thank you, Kate, for that. We will definitely answer and trust us. We will not ignore it. It will be answered at the dog park. So, and for those who don't know the dog park is our online community, especially for PAC members. So if you're not a PAC member, it's never too late. You can become a PAC member and then get enrolled into the dog park. And just a reminder, PAC members, your PAC member username and password is very different from the dog park. So there's a different user. Well, it could be the same, but there's a different password. So different logins. Remember that. But we will see you at the dog park. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, Sally and Susan, for being behind the scenes, making everything run so smoothly. Thank you, Susan, for helping us on the chat box. It's a very busy chat box today, so that's very exciting. Thank you for that. All the questions, you all are amazing. And like Kate mentioned earlier, we couldn't be this study we couldn't do without you all. You all are amazing. And then we did get a question about funding. We are good, guys. We did not get the renewal grant, but we are applying for grants. And then if you haven't checked, we have it in the description. We have our founders created a nonprofit of organization called the Dog Aging Institute. So if you'd like to make donations there, you can definitely head over to that website. But we're always there. We're working for ways, but we're still funding. We're not going to be discontinued. We're going. With that being said, thank you so much. This video will remain on our YouTube channel, and anything else, make sure to follow us on social media. Stay tuned for our next newsletter, and as always, we look forward to seeing you at our next PAC event. Till then. Bye.